Okay, I would like to begin with a little talk before the talk. Okay, so for like a few minutes, something that is not related so much. Maybe you can say it is and it's not. We're talking about feelings, emotions. We will talk about feelings and emotions. And I wanted to talk or ask you 4 questions, and those of you who heard me ask those 4 questions and know the answer, please do not respond. 4 questions of love, the queen of virtues, the ultimate virtue, love. 4 questions of love, and I would like to get 4 answers to these 4 questions. Simple. Here are the 4 questions, and they're not trick questions. First, why does God love us? Second, how did he demonstrate his love to us? Third, why do we love him? And fourthly, and most importantly, how do we demonstrate our love to him? Can't be more simple than that. Okay? Let's begin with the answers to these questions. Why does God love us? Yes, sir.
Because we are his creation.
Very good. Very good. Why else? Because
his nature is love.
Thank you. Thank you to Soni Selma. Because he is love. He emanates love, radiates love. Okay? And these are not trick questions. The second is very easy. How did he demonstrate his love to us?
By dying first.
Exactly. By dying for us on the cross. That's half the story, the second half. And granting us eternal life. There you go. Good. Third question. Why do we love him? Who said that? Yeah, Joseph. Perfect. St. John, in his epistles, says that we love him because he loved us first. Now we come to the 4th and most important question. How do we love God?
Obeying the commandments, loving our neighbor.
Right. By loving one another. We perfectly exemplify, demonstrate our love to God by loving each other. Because he said it. If you love me, in John 14, if you love me, obey my commandments. And that's the question. What are your commandments? He said there are no R's. What is my commandment? Is that you love one another. So think about it. When you love the person sitting next to you, in front of you, behind you, you are indeed demonstrating your love to the Lord. Why is that? I'll tell you also more practically speaking. If someone wants to demonstrate his or her love to me, they would do this by loving my children. That is the perfect expression of love to this person, by loving his or her children. When you love my kids, you really love me, right? When I love Abuna so much, what do? I love his children. I can love Abuna so much and tell him, Abuna, you have a wonderful voice in the liturgy. I love your sermons. I love your advice. This is all great. But when I love his children is when I perfectly demonstrate my love to him. So likewise, I can say to God, tasbihah all day, praise, which is great. All this is great. I can say all these things about the Lord. But there's one thing missing. Loving his children is loving the Lord. And that's the talk before the talk. All right. Before we go to healthy spirit, Malish, I want to just do a quick recap, maybe 3 minutes, not more than that, of what we have learned collectively, myself included, from the first discussion. Can you please just raise your hand and say some things that resonated with you from having a healthy mind. What did we learn? I hope we learned something. Yes. Perfect. Truth leads to goodness, leads to joy. Excellent. What else that resonated with us? Anything that was like an aha moment for you? Yes.
It all starts with a worldview.
Excellent. A worldview. It all begins with the worldview. Yes. Perfect. Which is your perception or perspective, your what is it? Thought process of the world. Yes, sir. Exactly. Take time to think about what you're thinking about. Take inventory of your thoughts. Excellent. Good. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
You must learn to say no.
Yes. Yes, you must learn to say no to toxic, destructive thoughts that come to you, much like your stomach that says no and ejects and rejects harmful food. One more? Yes, sir.
Our thoughts lead to our destiny.
Yes, your thoughts leads to your words, character, you know the process. It leads to your destiny at the end. Yes, what else? Tfadal.
Like what you said, that you can't prevent airplanes from flying, but you can prevent having like someone burn a plane.
Excellent. Don't build an airport. Don't build an airport. Let them fly. Don't let them land on your head. Destroy it. Or keep the airport, but make sure you're selective as to what lands and what doesn't. That's probably a better answer. Okay? This airline, yes, it can land. This airline is bad. I would say that. Because you can do that with these thoughts. God has given you the discernment to say this is good and this is bad. Why do I say that? Because I know what is true and what is not. Because I have that standard. What else? One more. One last thing. Yes, ma'am.
So you'd have like your knowledge, and then you'd have actions, and then it would lead to your feelings.
Excellent. I love that. Your knowledge of the truth that will lead to your actions, your behavior, your actions, for the lack of a better word, and that would lead to your ultimate joy and beauty as well. Okay, let's continue on with having. We're going to have we're going to have healthy. I love the video, by the way. Whoever chose the video, very creative, and thumbs up, excellent. And I love also the songs that also we're going to relate to these, to the video and the song as well. Healthy spirit, and I'm going to have a little bit of it is healthy spirit, and I also want to talk, as I mentioned to you earlier, about healthy hearts. I can't leave the feelings and the emotions. We need to kind of lump that together so that we cover healthy minds and healthy spirits. We covered healthy bodies with Abuna, healthy minds, healthy spirits, and healthy hearts. And in this context, I mean emotions and feelings and sentiments. Did any of you heard of this expression before? I am not spiritual. I am not religious, but I'm spiritual. We said that before, Abuna, right? You've heard that before? This actually prompted me. I was not planning on, confession. I just added 5 slides just a second ago after I saw the video, because I thought that this is relevant. I am not religious, but I'm spiritual. What does that really mean? Okay, any of you heard of this before? I hear it all the time, at least I'm in the West Coast. I am not religious, but I'm spiritual. What do they mean by that? Anyone would tell me what they mean by this? Or what does this really mean? That I don't like blank religion. Organized religion, thank you. Whoever said that, thank you. I like instead spiritual feelings. I call this the cafeteria religion. That's the mix and match spirituality without religion. I like, as I mentioned to you this morning, I like a little bit of what Jesus said, specifically the Sermon on the Mount. He said some pretty good stuff. I like what Buddha said in his writings. I like what Krishna said. I like what Muhammad said. I like, all of few things from here and there, and I call this the cafeteria religion or cafeteria approach. And instead of subscribing to just one given set of beliefs, I make up my own from selected teachings and practices. So it's not about their rejection of God, but their rejection of specific organized religions. Listen to what Hannah Rosen said. She's an American author and writer. She said, Americans, I think that could also apply for Canadians, write their own Bible. They fashion their own God. They then talk incessantly with him. More often than not, the God they choose is more like a best friend who has endless time for their needs, no matter how trivial these needs are. Scholars call this domesticating God, turning him into a social planner, therapist, or guardian angel. As I mentioned to some of you in outside when we were having a discussion, I said, thousands of years ago, God created man. In the 21st century, man created God. Oprah Winfrey says what? She says, let me tell you what she says. All organized religions offer only partial glimpses of God. So do not ascribe to any of these organized religions. Be spiritual. Do not be religious. And do you guys know who this guy is? Joel Osteen. Okay, so you know who he is. Joel Osteen says, seek to experience your God through your feelings. Great segue to where we're going. This is all called what? New Age spirituality, which is achieving the divine through mystical experiences. Through all the mystical... Can someone give me some examples of these mystical experiences by New Age spirituality? Yoga. Okay. The not so productive type of yoga. Let me just clarify that. Because yoga could be healthy. It is healthy to do. I think it is very healthy. Correct me if I'm wrong, those in the medical field. I think it's actually healthy for your mind, healthy for your body, your flexibility and all that. But when you use yoga for the spiritual purposes for which it was intended, then this is when it becomes a little alarming. Fahmin Qasdi? Okay? So I'm very familiar with all the different types of yoga, like Bikram yoga and all the other yoga. Some of it is good if you use it for physical and mental strength. But when you're taking it to another level of connecting with the divine, then this is when I say, time out. I think you've gone a little too extreme, okay? Do you guys agree? Are you with me? Okay? Because you cannot, here's my philosophy. You can't throw out the baby with the bathwater. You can always take that which is good from the world. I'll tell you something else. Psychotherapy. My background is in psychology. I did cognitive behavioral therapy and so on and so forth. So if I have a mental illness, would I say, hey, listen, mental illnesses can be fixed through reading the Agbiya, reciting some prayers, reading a chapter from the scriptures a day, and you're good to go? Do you agree? I don't agree. I think this is a great thing to do, but it's not something that will help your mental health. You do need professional psychotherapy, professional cognitive therapy, behavioral therapy, and all of these things that I used to do in clinical psychology. I did. God offered these options or treatments, rather, not options, treatments for me to take advantage of. So I can't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Yoga, okay, you may have some negative connotations, but it's actually very healthy for you, I believe, if you use it correctly. Psychotherapy, excellent. a way of treating people with mental illness. And it's a misconception that sometimes people say you don't need psychologists and psychotherapists are not needed if you just focus on Jesus. I think they underestimate, and I should probably say, do not understand the value of psychotherapy and psychoanalysis and so on and so forth in treating mental illness professionally. Anyways, so let's move on from New Age, from not religious but spiritual, not religious, into what shall we do. Let's connect back to what we left with, where we left off, I should say. Remember, we said, what shall we do? We should think about what? Think about what you think about besides that. Truth. And these truisms, what are they? St. Paul gave us 8 or 9 ideals that we should be thinking about. That which is true, noble, just, pure, lovely, of good report, virtuous, praiseworthy. We think about these things. I want to go back and loop back to this because this will lead us into how to have a healthy spirit. And we said that this will give us, God bless you, this will eventually lead into what? The fruit of the Spirit. So, you all know garbage in, garbage out. This is truth in, truth out. And in this case, when I say truth, I mean that which is true, which will give you goodness, which will give you ultimate joy. In will give you ultimate joy. Out. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. So, if you have an orange and you squeeze this orange, what do you get? Orange juice. You don't get apple juice, you get orange juice. Because what does it have inside of it? Orange. Think about it, my friends. Do you know what the word tribulation means? You can look that up. Here's another word to look up. Tribulation means what? To be squeezed. The actual word is to be squeezed. So when you are faced with tribulations and trials, you are being squeezed. What's inside of you will actually come out of you. If the inside has this, the outside will have that. But if I am filled with anger, with resentment and anger and dissatisfaction and envy and all of that, what do you think will come out? Love, joy, and peace? Absolutely not. So remember that. Tribulation introduces you to yourself. Just like one of the philosophers said, adversity introduces man to himself. It actually shows you what you're made of. Much like when I was in Egypt a couple of weeks ago, and of course when you go to Egypt, you have to have what? Asir. And then run to the restroom. So, think about this. If you put the sugar cane or asal in this, whatever that is, what do you think will come out? Asir, asal, the same thing, right? So just think about it. You put in your mind true, noble, just, pure, lovely. By the way, these can also, you can extend the list. St. Paul has given us just a kind of a lay of the land of what needs to enter into your mind. But you can extend this list and you know exactly what it is that's good and what it is that's bad. What do you think will come out? Love, joy, peace, love, that which we so desperately need. Now, question to you. How do I know that I am, little typo, producing the fruit of the Spirit? How do I know that I'm producing the fruit? Actually, a better question is, how do I produce the fruit of the Spirit? And Abuna David said it earlier this morning. When I am what? With the Spirit. You said it.
Full of the Spirit.
Huh? United?
Full of the Spirit.
Yeah, filled with the Spirit. Thank you. When I am filled with the Spirit, I produce the fruit of the Spirit. Meshi, follow the logic with me. When I am fit, by the way, this is a commandment in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 18. St. Paul says, be filled with the Spirit. We ought to be filled with the Spirit so that we can produce the fruit of the Spirit. Think again. Question. How do I know that I'm filled with the Spirit? It's a very good question. I want you to think about it. How do I know that I am filled with the Spirit? I'll give you a picture that will explain, but I want to hear you first. Yes, ma'am.
Maybe you can feel calm.
Yes, you feel calm, collected, peaceful. All these wonderful tranquility, all of these things. Excellent. What else? Yes, sir.
You know, I guess whatever you produce from the Holy Spirit, that's how you know you're filled with the Spirit. So the Spirit of the fruits of the Holy Spirit.
The fruit, exactly. When you have love, joy, and peace, and all the fruits of, by the way, it's a singular, not plural. The fruit of the Spirit with 7 flavors. Okay? It's a singular. Mish thamar al-ruh, thamar al-ruh. Okay. Yes.
You have the fruit of the Spirit under tribulation.
Excellent. When you are squeezed, and what comes out is love, joy. Excellent. I like that. What else? I'm looking for something else.
When there is spirit,
Yes, sir.
there is spirit, you always joy and happiness. And then you have spirit, and then you have God to provide.
Excellent. So when you always have that joy and happiness in your heart, when you always exemplify the fruit or manifest the fruit of the Spirit in your life, how else? I'm still looking for it. Yes, ma'am.
When it's overflowing.
Yes, I gotta shake your hand. And you have to say this out loud.
She said it.
First of all, shake your hand.
When it's overflowing to others.
Yes. Excellent. And that's exactly what I was looking for. How do you know that? Let me show you the picture. How do you know that anything is filled? Look at this cup. The grace of God is an ever-flowing what? Fountain of gifts and graces. Should say grace rather. Okay? Ever-flowing fountain. And you are a reservoir that accepts this fountain. How do you know when you're filled? When you overflow. Meaning, when you become an instrument of joy unto others, an instrument of peace unto others, an instrument of love unto others. Practically speaking, there's a gathering outside, and you walk in, and all of a sudden, the whole gathering is filled with joy. The whole gathering is filled with peace. You have imparted peace and joy wherever you go. You have become a walking fountain of peace and joy and gentleness and love and all of these things. So don't just think, here's a prayer that I think is very important, and I think we ought to think about this prayer and pray it. God, grant me your love. Grant me your love. Grant me your peace. Very nice and very good. But how about if we say, grant me to be an instrument of your peace unto others, so that I reflect your peace and I become an overflowing cup of peace and joy and love. This is how you know you are filled with the Spirit. When you become instruments of the fruit of the Spirit unto others. You know, there's a verse I want to share with you in John 4:14 that says, by the way, back to the Samaritan woman, the example we used earlier. Christ said to the Samaritan woman, whoever drinks of the water that I shall give to him will never thirst. But the water that I shall give him will become in him a what? A fountain of water springing up into everlasting life. A fountain that's always springing up. You become this fountain. So when people see you, they just get this
You know?
peace and love and joy. You become that radiance, or that reflectors rather, that reflector of Christ. The Holy Spirit, fruit of the Spirit, that is. John 7:38 says, "He who believes in me, out of his heart will flow rivers of living water." So if you are filled with the Spirit, you overflow unto others. Make sense? Moving on to basically the formula that puts it all together. Having a healthy mind that understands the true, the good, and the beautiful, and the joyful. Healthy mind that sets its thoughts on things above. And I think we discussed what these things above are. So when you have a healthy mind, it will be set on things above. And then when you are set on things above, what will happen? You'll be filled with the Spirit. And when you are filled with the Spirit, what will happen? You will overflow unto others. And what does that mean? You have a healthy mind. Do you get it? I'm trying to simplify it again so that we can understand. Healthy mind. Set your mind on things that are from heaven, which will make you filled with the Spirit. And filled with the Spirit includes living the fruit of the Spirit. And when you are filled with the Spirit, living the fruit of the Spirit, you can't help but overflow. Ask yourself this question: am I overflowing or am I not? Listen, I need some more jars of water, or jars of grace, I should say. And when you overflow, you have a healthy mind that will become even healthier, and so on and so forth. Okay, are ready to move into healthy hearts? Last segment. But any questions on mind so far? Healthy minds? Yes, ma'am.
I guess it goes back to the last session, but you were saying it's almost impossible to stop thinking, given that we almost have like 4,000.
Okay.
Given that we can almost like think about 4,000 thoughts in a 16-hour day. But it reaches a point where sometimes it's like you need to stop because it's like becoming unhealthy. How can you possibly stop as much as possible?
How can you possibly stop thinking? I'm not sure if you want to stop thinking. Maybe you're asking for something that I don't think you can achieve. I don't mean to reframe your question, but I'm not sure if you do want to stop thinking. I think what you want is to be selective in what you're thinking about. Because your mind is designed, don't ask me, ask the designer. Your mind is designed to constantly think. And that's an indication that you are healthy and alive. If your mind is not thinking, you're not healthy. You don't want that. You actually thank God that you're thinking this many thoughts. 4,000, 16 hours, or was it 4,000? Something like that. So you thank God that you're thinking, and you're thinking well. But you also, as you thank God for your thoughts, you ask Him to guide you to be more selective on what you think about. All right. Healthy hearts? Yes, ma'am. Hold on, I can't hear you.
So from this, I understand that healthy mind basically means like your mental health. And then being filled with the Spirit is your spiritual health. Unfortunately, maybe in our culture, or there is a stigma about mental health. So a lot of times people think that if you have a mental health issue, then that means you're not spiritually healthy and you're not close to God, and then this is why this is happening. But from what I see is that if you're not, because in the world we see people who are they have mental health, but they don't have spiritual health. But if you don't have mental health, you cannot achieve spiritual health. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
they're separate, but they're not independent of each other.
Very good. They're not mutually exclusive.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. And yes, oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, there's a stigma. And we need to change that. We need to change that because, well, I don't want to say more than I should, but really mental health to me is no different from, or mental ailments is not much different from physical ailments. When my hand hurts, I go to the physician. Well, what if I suffer from clinical depression or anxiety? I go to the physician that treats that. What's the, yes, famasi, magnoon, and that's crazy. Forgive me, I mean, but that's incorrect. And I think it takes someone who's courageous, someone who's authentic with himself or herself to say, I have some mental ailments that I need to get treatments for. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a stigma, but it needs to be done away with. Maybe it's the older generation, but not so much you guys. All right, let's move on. Healthy hearts. Healthy hearts. When I say hearts here, I mean what? Feelings, emotions, and so on and so forth. But before I move on, because I wanted to, one more comment real quick. I want to be also cognizant of my time. Okay. When you fulfill this cycle, you know what you do? You have actually you fulfilled your purpose in this life. What is my purpose in life? I think some of you have heard me say this before. When I was at a conference one time, someone asked a question. I said, what is my purpose in life? It's a pretty loaded question. What do you think anybody heard of the response that I had mentioned a number of times? Okay, well, your purpose in life is twofold, and it's very simple. Again, simplify. Is to know God and to make Him known. Period. To know God and make Him known. That's your purpose in life. When you know God, what will happen? You will begin to love Him. And when you love Him, what will you want to do? Get to know Him more. What will happen as a result? You will love Him more. You want to get to know Him more. You'll love Him more. You'll reach the point that you love Him so much, you want to share Him with others. So to know God, implied in knowing God is loving God and making Him known, sharing Him with others. That is our purpose in life as creatures, I should say. To know our Creator, our Lord Jesus Christ, and to make Him known. When you fulfill this cycle, you have known God by setting your mind on things above, by being filled with the Spirit. You become a temple of this Spirit, the Spirit of God. And then when you overflow unto others, you are what? Making Him known. And you become that instrument of God unto others. You see? All right. For sure, we're moving on. I can go on and on, so forgive me if I'm digressing. Healthy hearts. We did discuss here mental health and spiritual health are inseparable. Let me repeat. Mental health and spiritual health are inseparable. And they are, there is a relationship between the two. For you to be spiritually healthy, you must be mentally healthy, and vice versa. Now, what about emotional health? I just put that heart on top of that psyche. Emotional health and spiritual health and maturity are also inseparable. We are emotional beings. God designed us to be emotional. Yes, Tadali. Yes.
If we go back to that mental health piece, does that mean that people who have mental health issues cannot be spiritual healthy? Because we don't say people with physical health issues cannot be spiritual.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they cannot, but they need to fix this mental health problem for them to be spiritually fit. Do you see? I cannot say they can't. They can, but they need to take care of their mental problems, their mental health problems. Does that make sense?
But I feel like for some people it's a constant battle.
It is a constant battle. Right. No, it's not. It's not a light switch, but that's why God provided for us avenues to seek treatment and help. Of course. Back to the stigma question. Yeah. Yes, sir.
With elderly people who a lot of times offer or like suffer from the mental health as they age, any suggestions for that? Because you know, they're getting older and not necessarily have options there.
It's a good question, George. Call them more, visit them more. That's all I could say. At least this is what my mom used to tell me before she departs. Call me more and visit me more. Mom, I'm busy. Just call me. And hey, I don't know if your moms do the same thing. I would call her Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I skip Thursday, and I call. Why haven't you called me all week? Does your mom? That's just a mom thing. And if I visit her Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, why didn't you visit me on Friday? But yeah, that's my point. Yes, Abuna, you want to say something?
Can we say that for the mental health and the spiritual health, that it's parallel and it's continuous work in progress as well?
Yes.
Meaning, doesn't mean that, yes, there might be some challenges pursuing spirituality, but it doesn't mean that it is absolutely not something to pursue.
Yes.
But it's something maybe to pursue with the level of appropriateness, intensity that is suitable at this stage.
Excellent.
Until maybe I mature more, or maybe I am able to work on a mental health issue or ailment that I'm going through. So they could go like little bit by little bit in both. It's kind of parallel, as opposed to I cannot work on my spiritual until I work on my mental health.
Excellent point. And also Abuna serves as your spiritual health physician. Your psychologist therapist works as your mental health physician, and Abuna and the therapist work hand in hand. They target different things, but the objective is the same.
Yep.
You see, so that they go hand in hand, as you perfectly said. We are emotional beings, are we not? Yes, says Victor.
Sorry, I just wanted to comment on this. So I think we give the mental health more than we should comparing to the spiritual issue. Spirituality is something and mental health is something different. So if I have a high blood pressure, I can't sleep, I have a headache. How does it relate to my spiritual life? High blood pressure is not mental health. I know, yeah. No, but what I'm trying to say is, this is a completely different entity. I'm suffering, so I may say, okay, how God you are going to help me? So maybe I'll get closer to God, or maybe I'll do the wrong thing. Mental illness is the same issue. Mental illness is related to a certain chemistry in the body that changes our way of thinking. The only difference is that mental illness can be affected by our behavior. So if someone is just like telling me that you are ugly, it's going to hurt my feelings. So my mental illness actually will get more affected. But it's related to chemistry.
Okay. Forgive me. I see your point, but I'm not sure if it's exclusively related to chemistry. I mean, from my training, it's more than just chemistry. Chemistry is one aspect of it, but there are some behavioral issues, there are some developmental issues, a lot of other issues that are beyond. Chemistry is one aspect. You treat that with lithium carbonate and all that fun stuff, but then there are some other behavioral issues that need more than just, here's a pill. At least that's what I learned. Correct me if I'm wrong, Yani. I'm okay. Yes.
I'm sorry.
No, please.
I see that physical health definitely impacts my, not spirituality, but maybe my ability to practice spirituality. Like if I have a headache, I would go to the liturgy, I would be, forcing myself, but definitely my focus, my concentration is not the same as when I do not have a headache. Yes, like having a reward in heaven, that's a different issue.
Sure,
but,
sure.
but I'm talking about my ability to connect and engage spiritually. It's a strife, it's a work in progress. Sometimes mental health significantly impact my ability to worship or to pray or to connect with God or to see that there is no God. And maybe an example is Job. Job started with a physical ailment, and then it went into mental kind of extreme frustration, depression, seeing no hope, seeing no light, and he started to say things about God that all the people around him said, "How could you say this?"
Sure.
But God actually said, "It's okay. It's okay," that because he realized that when I go through suffering, physical, mental, that sometimes I'm not in my best mental health ability to connect spiritually with him. So even God is patient with me until I pass this time, and then he might help regenerate spiritually and mental health and physically at the same time.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Abuna, for saying that. Beautifully said. And I agree with you, 100%. So, that's what we are. We experience joy, excitement, sadness, and all these emojis. That's just, we are emotional beings. I had to make sure that none of these is inappropriate. So thank God I picked a picture that has no inappropriate emojis. Anyways, so our culture, our Western culture, I would say maybe Eastern as well, but our culture is obsessed with feelings. Do you agree or not? Obsessed with feelings. Let me share with you some quotations. One from a teacher of mine in apologetics. His name is Dr. Ravi Zacharias. He says, "We live in a generation that listens with its eyes and thinks with its feelings." We live in a generation that listens with its eyes and thinks with its feelings. Oprah Winfrey says what? "Your heart is the king, and the mind is the king's advisor. When faced with a decision, the king may ask his advisors for advice, but ultimately, it is the king that makes the final decision. The king is invariably right, and she's invariably wrong." Do you guys know who this guy is? All right, Stephen Colbert. Devout Catholic, however. He says, "Facts don't matter. What matters is how you feel. You are the final decision maker of the truth." Now, he came up with this word. Here's another word to look up. Truthiness. You've heard that before? You have. Excellent. Exactly. Very good. Truthiness is the belief in what you feel to be true rather than what the facts will support. How devastating is this? It gets worse. Oxford Dictionaries, word of the year 2016, post-truth. In other words, feelings, emotions. Here's what post-truth says: relating to or denoting circumstances in which objective facts are less influential in shaping public opinion than appeals to what? Emotions and personal beliefs. That's the king. So the culture says what? Follow your feelings. If it feels good, do it. This was the slogan of someone by the name of Hugh Hefner. So, what is the proper, no laughing please, what is the proper place of feelings? What is, I want you to pay attention to this. What is the proper place of feelings? How should we regard feelings? Yes, sir.
I think they're an indicator.
Indicators, excellent. They're a gauge. Yeah. Indicators, I like that. I'm going to use that. Indicators. What else? Any? Yes, ma'am. I just don't think.
I think one way to, feelings will tell you obviously how you feel, but going back to your previous session, if you're feeling something, I think you should evaluate whether that would take it captive to the opinion.
Excellent. you said keywords, evaluate and see if you're being taken captive by these. Excellent. Here's how I see feelings, okay? This is how I see feelings. Spices. That's it. Feelings are spices. They do not add substance to life. They add flavor. They flavor life with excitement, but they do not add substance. Like what? This wonderful meal gives you what? Nourishment. You put spices on it, it will give you nourishment and it will taste good. But can you live on spices alone? You will die of malnutrition. And that's how I see feelings. It's the spices you add on your dish. You have the nourishment and you have the taste. If you just have feelings only, you're going for the spices and you'll eventually die. That's what feelings are. Substance, which is that nourishment, is what we want. And that comes from what we know to be true and substantial, adding substance. Here's a picture. Where's Aki? This is for you. So, when an athlete, my favorite athlete, I'm not going to entertain that. When an athlete scores, what do the fans do? They react with excitement and joy. But do their excitement and joy add any points to the scoreboard? But what if the athlete scores and there are no fans, no excitement, no noise, no enjoyment? It'll be a very boring game. That's feelings and facts. The facts are, what's the score? Feelings are, the fans are enjoying the game. Do you get the connection? Substance versus style. Substance is the fact, the truth, what I know to be truth. That nourishes your mind. That is what we ought to hang on to. Style is all the spices, all the excitement, all the joy. That's what I think the proper place of feelings, and it needs to stay there. Danger of feelings, and I put the text on the screen so that we can all remember it, is that emotionally driven people make big mistakes when they base decisions on how they feel rather than what they know is the right thing to do. We must learn how to live beyond our feelings and do what's right even when we feel wrong. Even when we feel wrong. Because what you know is far more important than what you feel. I am not saying feelings are insignificant. That is not what I'm saying. We need to acknowledge, recognize, just like we acknowledge our thoughts, we ought to acknowledge our feelings, not suppress them. That's bad therapy or bad strategy. Do not suppress your feelings. Acknowledge them, but let them become more like indicators, rather the king versus the advisors, kind of switch that formula rather than follow what Oprah suggests. Our feelings, or what we know rather, is more important than what we feel. Why? Yes, ma'am.
Because what we feel changes all
Yes, thank you. I would like to shake your hand. This is exactly what I was looking for, and you said it perfectly. Because what we feel changes from day to day. Truth, fact, don't change. Our feelings may depend on my wife when she's, okay, I probably shouldn't have said that out loud. When she's hungry, she becomes hangry. Any of you? I said that to Abuna earlier, right? My feelings may depend on, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, I'm in a bad mood. Why? Hey, kid, I'm in a bad mood. Don't ask me why. Just because it's cloudy, I haven't seen the sun for a week, I'm in a bad mood. My digestive system may dictate how I feel. So your feelings constantly change. Facts and truth doesn't change. Now, our feelings come from us. Truth comes to us. Our feelings are subjective. They depend on the subject, I. Truth is objective. It depends on that is beyond myself. Our feelings change. Truth does not change. On what will you base your life decisions? Feelings or truth? That which comes from you and is bound to change, or that which comes to you and is the measure of truth? Have you ever said these words? I don't feel like going to church today. I don't feel like being nice to this person. I am not in the mood to pray. I don't feel like serving today. You don't have to raise your hand. Any of you felt this way? As a matter of fact, I was talking to an Abuna, not Abuna Bulus. I was talking to an Abuna. He said, you know what, George, I have to tell you a story. As a priest, I woke up on a Wednesday morning to do the liturgy, and I did not feel like praying. This is, he's okay for me sharing this with you. He said, I did not feel like going to church and doing the liturgy. What should I have done? Go back, turn off the lights and go back to bed? And the congregation that will pray on Wednesday, معلش بقى بصوا أبونا كانش في المود النهارده. I was not in the mood to pray. What did he do? He told me, I did not feel like praying the liturgy today. What did he do? He got up and went to the liturgy because this is the right thing to do, what he knows he ought to do. And when he prayed the liturgy, guess what? He felt great. I'm telling you this from a priest that shared this with me. And my father is a priest, and he probably would admit, or would agree rather, to saying that. Here's what O.H. Moore, who's the famous psychologist, professor of psychology, he said this. Beautiful quotation. It's easier to act yourself into a better way of feeling than to feel your way into a better way of acting. Confusing? No. Let me read it again. I think it's beautiful and it's on point. It's easier to act yourself into a better way of feeling than to feel your way into a better way of acting. C.S. Lewis will explain. Here's how C.S. Lewis said it. Do not waste your time bothering whether you love your neighbor or you don't. Act as if you did. As soon as we do this, we find one of the greatest secrets in life. When we are behaving as if you loved someone, you will indeed come to love him. That's a mystery that will be unveiled to you when you actually act as if you do love this person. You'll come to love him. Yes, sir.
Just a quick question. So does that mean that we fake it till we make it?
No. Yes and no. I'll tell you a personal experience. I went to Abuna one time, my confessions. He was my father of confession. His Grace, Bishop Yusuf, I can just say that. And he said, Sayyidina, this person, and we had we had a disagreement on something, and he's not very happy, and so what do I do? He said, just pray for him. I said, yeah, Sayyidina, but we need to fix this. He said, yeah, just pray for him, and you wish him this and that and all these wonderful things. I said, I'll do what you say. Obedience. I did that for a week or two, and my wife with me, and all of a sudden I felt that what C.S. Lewis is saying. Okay? I'm not saying there was contempt and anger and hatred. That wasn't the case. But even if you don't feel total harmony with someone, pray for them, you're good. So I wouldn't say fake it till you make it. I would probably say do the right thing. Have you heard of Russell Peters? Anyways. Be a man. All right. But you can say, hey, I can't control my feelings. What do? I can't control my feelings. Amile, can you or can you not? My question to you, and we're almost done, by the way. Can you not? Can you control your feelings? To some extent. Well, I think the Lord Jesus Christ thought that you can. He said something to his disciples in John chapter 14. He said, let not your heart be troubled. neither let it be afraid. If you love me, rejoice. Jesus, I can't help but be fearful. Come on, are you telling me not to feel afraid? Yes. If I couldn't control this specific feeling, Christ would not have commanded me not to. You see? So, back to what we are called to have. A spirit not of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. And I want to end with focusing on the truth, acknowledging your emotions, focusing on the truth. And I want to end with this story, and then we'll finish. What is the truth that I need to focus on? The truth of who God is and who I am. Back to the beautiful song that the third song that we did. Who God is and who I am, that should be the truth that I ought to focus on. The prodigal son, one of my very favorite parables in the scriptures, Luke chapter 15. When did the prodigal son come back to his father? When he actually got to know who he is and who the Father is. And this is what we ought to do for us to have healthy minds and healthy hearts and come back to the Lord. It says here, when he came to himself, he began to think and realize who he is. And the desolate or destitute life, destitute? Is that the right word? Anyways, the desolate life he was living. He said, how many of my father's hired servants have bread enough and to spare? What does that mean about the Father? He's a very what? Loving and generous Father. So he came to know who he is and who the Father is. Only then he was able to go back to the Father. Jonathan Edwards, a Christian preacher and philosopher, said, of all the knowledge that we can never obtain, of all the knowledge that we can ever obtain, the knowledge of God, the knowledge of ourselves, are the most important. This is the key for us to have healthy minds, healthy spirits, and healthy hearts. And glory and honor be to God forever and ever. Amen. The questions, I want to make sure I have some time and